You awaken in the morning, approach the bathroom mirror, and there it is again, that persistent belly fat. Despite getting 7, perhaps 8 hours of sleep and not consuming a single calorie, by all conventional wisdom, your body should be incinerating fat. But it isn't. That quiet frustration you feel in the day's first 5 minutes, that sense of incongruity, is not imaginary. Here's an uncomfortable truth most people never discover. Within the first 45 minutes of waking, your body might already be programming itself to accumulate more belly fat, not less. This isn't about willpower, motivation, or your level of self-discipline. It's a biological, hormonal, and automatic process, and almost everyone is inadvertently activating it. There's a common morning habit, likely something you do daily, that subtly signals to your body that the world is unsafe. When your body perceives danger, it defaults to its primal function, conserving energy, locking down visceral fat, and drastically slowing fat loss. What exacerbates this is that even if you adhere to a clean diet, exercise later, and train rigorously, this initial morning signal can override all subsequent efforts. Unless you grasp this underlying mechanism, you'll continue to battle your body instead of collaborating with it. The actual impetus behind this early morning fat storage isn't food or idleness. It's a specific hormonal event known as the cortisol awakening response. Every morning, immediately upon waking, your body naturally releases a surge of cortisol. This isn't inherently negative. Cortisol is not the adversary. In a healthy biological state, this spike is crucial for promoting alertness, focus, and readiness for activity. It's meant to rise sharply and then decline just as abruptly. This rise and fall pattern is what shifts your metabolism into fat-burning mode for the remainder of the day. However, issues arise if this crucial window is managed poorly. The sharp spike can morph into a prolonged stress signal. When cortisol remains elevated, your metabolism transitions into a defensive posture. Your body ceases to prioritize energy expenditure and instead focuses on energy storage, particularly around the midsection. What many fail to realize is that this metabolic decision occurs very early, long before breakfast, lunch, or your workout. In fact, by the time most individuals pour their first cup of coffee, their stress hormones have already peaked. Rather than allowing this wave to recede naturally, they inadvertently intensify it. This single misstep can transform a normal biological response into an all-day fat-storing signal. The worst part is that almost everyone is doing this without understanding why their body resists fat loss. This is where many people miss the point. Not because the biology is complex, but because it's rarely explained this way. On the surface, most common morning routines appear productive, but biologically, they send the wrong message. Consider what most people do within minutes of waking. They grab their phone, scan headlines, emails, and social media. They switch on overhead lights, then brew coffee and rush out the door. None of this feels perilous. It feels normal. Yet, to your nervous system, it's chaos. Artificial blue light, sudden information overload, and caffeine on a dehydrated system all compound the cortisol spike that's already underway. Instead of allowing cortisol to rise and fall naturally, you continually push it higher. Your body doesn't interpret this as productivity. It interprets it as a threat. And when the body perceives a threat, it doesn't burn fat. It protects it. Visceral fat, especially around the abdomen, acts like a metabolic bunker, sequestering energy for later use. What's particularly frustrating is that you might do everything else correctly afterward. Eat a clean lunch, take an afternoon walk, even exercise intensely. But if the initial signal of the day informed your body that the environment is unsafe, your metabolism is already predisposed to storage. This explains why so many feel like they're engaged in an uphill battle daily. The solution isn't more effort. It's transmitting the correct signal before the damage is done. To understand why stress impacts your belly more than other areas, you need to know one crucial detail about visceral fat. Belly fat isn't merely passive storage. It's biologically responsive tissue. Visceral fat cells possess up to 4 times more glucocorticoid receptors than fat cells in other regions. Simply put, your abdomen is hypersensitive to stress signals. When cortisol levels rise, visceral fat hears it more loudly. A key enzyme involved in this process is lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. Think of LPL as a storage switch. When activated, it extracts energy from the bloodstream and sequesters it into fat cells. Under calm conditions, this switch remains relatively subdued, but under stress, especially chronic stress, it rapidly flips on. Here's the critical point most overlook. The morning is when this system is most susceptible. Upon waking, you're usually mildly dehydrated, your blood volume is reduced, and your brain is clearing metabolic waste accumulated during sleep. All these factors make your stress response easier to amplify. So, when cortisol spikes early and remains elevated, LPL receives a clear message: store energy, prepare for uncertainty, secure it. This isn't your body being obstinate, it's your body following directives. If you desire different outcomes, you must alter the instructions it receives. The immense significance of the morning isn't motivational, it's mechanical. Upon waking, your body is chemically exposed. You've gone 6 to 8 hours without water, losing fluid simply through breathing overnight. Your blood is thicker, requiring your heart to work harder to circulate it. This physical strain alone subtly increases cortisol even before you leave the bed. Concurrently, your brain is completing its overnight cleaning process, flushing metabolic byproducts through the glymphatic system. This combination renders your nervous system highly susceptible. Minor signals are amplified. Small inputs feel more significant than they would later in the day. This is why the same cup of coffee, the same screen, or the same stressor might feel manageable at noon, but overwhelming at 7 a.m. Your biology in the morning is highly open to interpretation, and the body is asking a simple question: is the environment safe enough to expend energy, or do I need to conserve it? Once that question is answered, everything downstream follows: appetite, cravings, energy levels, and fat storage. This is why rectifying your morning routine doesn't just improve your day, it fundamentally rewrites the metabolic trajectory of everything that follows. And it begins with the very first signal you send. Before discussing light exposure, movement, or caffeine timing, one signal must be addressed first: hydration. When you wake, you're already operating at a deficit. Overnight, you can lose nearly 1 quart of water through breathing and normal metabolic processes. This fluid loss thickens your blood, heightens cardiovascular strain, and stealthily elevates cortisol before your feet even touch the floor. Most people exacerbate this by reaching for coffee first. Caffeine is a diuretic, and on a dehydrated system, it pushes stress hormones higher, not lower. The quickest way to calm the system is straightforward. Begin with a large glass of room temperature water, approximately 16 to 20 ounces, and add a small pinch of high-quality sea salt. Sodium transmits a safety signal to the kidneys and adrenal glands, informing your body that resources are available, blood pressure is supported, and there's no immediate threat. Within minutes, the biological alarm begins to subside. This isn't merely a detox, it's a metabolic reset that prepares the groundwork for every subsequent signal. Once hydration is addressed, the next signal your body anticipates is light. Not artificial light, but natural morning light. Deep within your brain resides a master clock called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This clock regulates when cortisol rises, when melatonin falls, and how your metabolism manages energy throughout the day. If this clock is misaligned, cortisol doesn't decline as it should. It persists, and lingering cortisol is one of the fastest routes to stalling fat loss and encouraging visceral fat accumulation. The issue is that most people awaken into artificial blue light from overhead LEDs, phone screens, and computer monitors. These sources provide weak intensity, typically only a few hundred lux. This is sufficient to disorient your nervous system, but insufficient to fully awaken it. This incongruity fosters low-grade anxiety and sustains elevated stress hormones. The solution is remarkably simple. Step outside within the first 30 minutes of waking. Even on a cloudy day, natural sunlight delivers over 10,000 lux, sending a clear, unequivocal signal to the brain. When that light reaches your eyes unfiltered by sunglasses, it triggers a sharp, healthy cortisol surge followed by a definitive drop. This drop is what signals to your body that it's safe to burn energy now and rest later. An unexpected side effect for most people is improved sleep quality that night, because morning light also stimulates serotonin production, which converts into melatonin hours later. This is the step most people resist, yet it's also the one that truly transforms everything. You must defer caffeine for approximately 90 minutes after waking, not because coffee is inherently bad, but because its timing dictates whether it aids or hinders your metabolism. Here's what's happening internally. Throughout the day, a molecule called adenosine gradually accumulates. Adenosine generates sleep pressure, making you feel tired at night. During sleep, your brain clears it out. However, when you first wake up, residual adenosine still circulates. It hasn't been completely flushed. If you consume coffee immediately, caffeine doesn't eliminate adenosine, it merely blocks its receptors. You might feel alert, but an underlying fatigue signal persists, accumulating like water behind a dam. When the caffeine's effects dissipate a few hours later, that dam breaks. Your energy plummets, focus wanes, and your body reacts as it always does. A dip in energy triggers a release of cortisol to compensate. This afternoon, cortisol surge fuels sugar cravings, late-day snacking, and stubborn evening fat storage. By waiting 90 minutes, you allow your natural cortisol awakening response to naturally rise and fall. Adenosine clears organically. Then, when you finally consume your coffee, it functions as a performance enhancer rather than a mere crutch. You experience clean energy, enhanced focus, and none of the metabolic repercussions that lock belly fat in place. This is where much well-intentioned advice goes astray. We're often told that the quickest way to boost metabolism is through intense exertion. High-intensity intervals, fasted workouts, pushing through discomfort. And while this approach can be effective later in the day, in the morning, when cortisol levels are already elevated, intensity can be counterproductive. High-intensity exercise creates a hypoxic signal, a temporary oxygen deficit, which your nervous system interprets as additional stress. Instead of reducing cortisol, it increases it. For individuals already carrying visceral fat, this added stress can reinforce the very pattern they're striving to escape. The remedy is far simpler: forward walking. This isn't just about calorie expenditure, but also about a mechanism called optic flow. As you walk forward, your visual field moves past you. This consistent stream of visual information has a direct calming effect on the amygdala, the brain's fear center. Optic flow signals to your nervous system that you are moving with purpose, not fleeing danger. In evolutionary terms, walking forward signified exploration, food gathering, and control, whereas stillness implied hiding. A 10 to 15-minute walk, ideally outdoors, combines movement with natural light, delivering a dual safety signal. Cortisol levels decrease, anxiety subsides, and your biochemistry shifts from a defensive to an available state. This is the condition in which the body feels secure enough to unlock stored energy, including stubborn belly fat, rather than safeguarding it. There's one final signal that can undermine everything we've discussed so far, and it often occurs before most people even get out of bed: your phone. The moment you check social media, email, or the news immediately after waking, you inundate a half-awake brain with dopamine, information, and emotional stimuli. This is not neutral input. It instantly activates the sympathetic nervous system. Your brain switches into reactive mode. You find yourself responding to others' demands, negative news, comparisons, and urgency before your nervous system has established a baseline of calm. Cortisol rises to address this perceived threat, and once cortisol is elevated early, it tends to remain elevated. A brain that begins the day reactively stays in stress mode. A brain that starts the day proactively maintains lower cortisol levels throughout. This isn't about productivity hacks or digital minimalism. It's about metabolic signaling. When dopamine spikes too early, your body interprets the environment as unpredictable, and unpredictable environments favor energy conservation, not fat loss. By delaying phone use for the first 20 to 30 minutes, you allow the parasympathetic nervous system to take precedence. Calm becomes the default. This calm signals to your metabolism that it's safe to expend energy instead of hoarding it. And this single boundary may be one of the most potent fat loss tools you're overlooking. Individually, each of these actions might seem minor: a glass of water, a few minutes of sunlight, a short walk, waiting a bit longer for coffee. However, biology doesn't respond to isolated actions. It responds to patterns. When these signals occur in the correct sequence, they stack. Hydration reduces baseline stress. Light calibrates your internal clock. Movement quiets fear circuits. Delaying caffeine prevents artificial spikes. Avoiding early dopamine keeps the nervous system calm. Together, they convey one clear message: the environment is safe. And when the body consistently receives this message, it ceases its defensive posture. Cortisol no longer needs to remain elevated. Appetite becomes more regulated. Energy levels stabilize. Fat loss stops feeling like a perpetual uphill battle. This is the experience most people never have because they try to fix metabolism with isolated hacks instead of coherent signaling. They alter their diet without addressing stress. They add workouts without calming their nervous system, and the body resists. But when you align hydration, circadian rhythm, brain chemistry, and movement early in the day, you're no longer battling biology, you're guiding it. Over time, this shift accumulates, not in days but in weeks. Your body begins to trust the environment again, and trust is what permits stored energy, especially visceral fat, to finally become accessible instead of being protected. This is the fundamental shift most people fail to make. They spend years attempting to force fat loss through restriction, intensity, and discipline, wondering why it never lasts. Yet, when you reduce unnecessary cortisol and restore a sense of biological safety, fat loss ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a byproduct. Your body no longer needs to cling to energy. Cravings soften. Energy stabilizes. The constant mental chatter about food and exercise quiets. You're no longer trying to overpower your physiology. You're collaborating with it. And that changes everything. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency. Sending the same calm, predictable signals each morning, day after day, until your nervous system learns that the environment is stable once more. From that stable place, the body performs its intended functions. It adapts, it balances, and it releases what it no longer needs to protect. So, if you've been blaming yourself for a body that won't cooperate, let that go. You are not broken. You are simply following the wrong instructions. Rectify your morning routine, lower your stress, and fat loss will naturally occur over time.
This video is for educational purposes only and isn't medical advice. If you have any medical conditions or take prescription medications, please talk to your doctor before making any changes.